Nigel Mansell won his Ferrari from 12 in 1989, and Jenson Button took a victory for Honda from 14 in 2006. Hungary itself is a landlocked country with no coastal borders. This is a quirk shared with only one other country on the F1 calendar, Austria. Lewis Hamilton has by far the most wins here in Hungary, more than the next two drivers combined. Michael Schumacher has won here 4 times, and Ayrton Senna thrice. Hungary was host to the debut wins of Damon Hill, Fernando Alonso, and Jenson Button, all of whom would go on to become world champions. As the circuit is short, unforgiving, and packed with slow corners, it's gained the reputation of being Monaco without the barriers. In its defense, it has an average speed of 200 kilometers an hour compared to Monaco's pedestrian, 160. We're about 20 kilometers north of... More races have been won by drivers.
Okay, people, I've tried about 70 freaking times, please.
Okay, people.
It worked!
Let's
turn off my disgusting voice. Hello, people, welcome to VRP Season 2, Round 7. Lewis is still on pole, so you have missed nothing. Afonso's overtaken Rapid, and this is seamless. I'm not a boomer, I know how to work technology. It's raining, if you couldn't tell already, and we have 4.5 minutes to go, so let's enjoy what we have left of quali. Never ask me to stream again. Right, I'm Miss Jackson. Our top 5 is Lewis, Afonso, Rapid, who is, as I was explaining, a reserve in for King Kiski. Tim Rolfesh up in P4 at the moment. Thank you, Lord Percival. Omar in P5. So far on for his best quali. I did say an amazing stat, but you know I forgot it already. But I think something like Omar is on for his best quali if things stay the same. Liam in the pits P6. Let's ride on board with Dylan. His teammate has crashed. We've seen 4 crashes so far, along with 2 quali bans. So I said at the start, not that you heard it, but these wet conditions are going to prove a challenge to everyone. And so far it has done just that. We've seen incidents everywhere, spins and crashes alike, and we maybe would have seen more if I didn't decide to be a idiot with muting my mic or whatever the issue was, because I still don't understand what I did wrong, but we're here. As Giotto jumps up to P6, we're still on board with Dylan. The Inters did prove to be the better tyre early on, and that hasn't changed, as the top 9 all sit on Inters. 9th place DNFing, or not DNFing, but crashing out of quali as Dylan, round the final corner, gets his car up to P4, trying to salvage something from Mercedes. They're both still in the top 10. But of course, that can always change as Rapid jumps to the top, and someone else... No, I thought someone else set a lap, but no, Phelps just started his lap. As we watch him, tyre on the track, Stewards, 2 tyres on the track. Stewards have not done a good job of clearing Ducky and Charlie's car off the track, but Phelps starts his lap with Rapid right up behind him. I have to say that will hurt Rapid's lap, but, you know, Phelps is in his right to continue his lap. Or, well, maybe not so much anymore. Invalidating at turn 4, which is a difficult place to keep the car on the track, especially in wet conditions. It's an almost blind, quick left corner. I've just accidentally sent an invite to Aston, sorry. Hazard time, struggling so far, but he is up on his time somewhat, as his teammate, I think that is, going slowly in sector 2, and then we're seeing an Alfa Romeo going slowly as well. Into the chicane, he does go deep, then has to ride the second curb, not really the line you want to be taking through there. I keep pressing the wrong button. Where's my HUD? There it is, as hazard time, goes for a spin, he got onto the wet part of the track, and off the track he goes, and out of the session goes Pilot Sig. A DSQ for the driver who just lagged out of the lobby. Quentin Gaming coming through the traffic, and well, almost having an incident with the Alpine who's just been DSQ'd. It's right on board here as we go through this now, almost blind left hand corner. Then it's a right, and you want to stay off this inside curve because it can spin. It's a long corner, and the traffic ahead of Giotto is not going to help for dirty air. Into the chicane, you're already now looking at your left hand apex. So you want to get the exit now into 2 very awkward corners, you have to say. He takes a lot of curb of the first one, then a lot of the second, and it's an awkward line. He's had to really get out of the throttle to not invalidate his time. Turn 11 there, another difficult one. Easy to invalidate here. Turn 12, a 90 degree. He set a purple time, but I believe that is probably incorrect, as final 2 corners here, almost identical, mirrored corners to each other. Turns 13 and 14. And to be honest, I think exit out of here is not so important in quali because, as you can see, it's a short run to the line. Quentin Gaming up to P7, the first one to take the checkered flag. Behind him, Giotto is going to remain in P8. Lewis is 2/10 up here. He could take provisional pole. He doesn't. He misses out. Rapid Junior behind him. Can he extend his advantage? He cannot. Afonso. Dylan Pitts. Afonso, who's marginally up through the final corner. Can he take yet another pole position in Season 2? Gets the rear end, sliding out of the final corner. Costed him a bit of time. He still improves, but not enough. Omar does almost identical. Can he get into the top 4? Omar stays P5, a second down in the end. Tim Rolfesh has spun it. We have Harry still on a lap, who's 5/10 up. Hazard time improving as well. He gets himself on the fringes off the top 10. Knocking Charlie down yet another step, as Harry now is our last driver to come to the line on a competitive time. Under the crypto board, to the final corner, takes a tight line and lets the car roll out wide so he can get back onto the throttle quicker. Doesn't get the rear end kicked out. Harry into the top 10. P7 for the Aston Martin driver, who's potentially got his eyes on a championship fight. He's scored points in every race so far this season. I believe it's just him and Dylan to do that so far out of every race. There's been drivers who haven't finished a race and scored points every race they finish, but I mean, Harry hasn't DNF'd yet. But that is the session for you. Rapid is Rapid, the reserve in the Haas, taking pole position from the second reserve of Lewis. Afonso, the championship leader, looking to gap himself to P2, who is Harry, in P3, so putting himself in a strong position to do just that. Dylan potentially trying to get himself in a championship picture as well. P4, consistent as ever. Omar with his best quali up in P5. Quentin as well with his best quali in P8. Great. Or matching his best quali actually in P8. Great performance from him. And further down the field, Bino, Zalba, Avesta, Ducky, Pilot, Stig did not even set a lap. 3.1 seconds split the field. And Rapid, well, stating his intentions that he is, well, one to fear for the drivers at the top. Alright Omar, I meant best quali of Season 2, I'm sorry. Not raining in the race, which is, well, it depends. If you want to see chaos, it's bad news for you. If you want to see actual racing, then we shouldn't have come to Hungary. Looks like Max Verstappen's joined the grid as well. Zalba's new teammate. Everyone wanting a nice race to watch, and let's hope that's what we get as the formation lap gets us underway. Rapid leads it on the medium tyre. So strategy, obviously a big element, as with any F1 race. And we're seeing split strategy across the field. Rapid on the mediums, but the 5 behind him opting for the softs. We then have Harry and Quentin on the mediums, Giotto on the softs, Liam medium, Blaze, Hazard, Charlie, Ducky, Avesta and Pilot Stig at the back, going for the softs. Felper, Zalba, Bino looking to go longer, build up those positions, potentially benefit from a late safety car is always an option for them. On the mediums, Pilot Stig is having more connectivity issues, not what you'll see with any driver. It's a fast formation up from Rapid. almost in danger of splitting the field a little bit, especially if we have drivers going into AI, which could be the case of sort of hazard time falling back, but not too much so. Now we're really seeing the field split up as it's Liam in the Alfa Romeo in 10th place, backing off, I would say ever so slightly, but I think that is slightly times 4 as hazard times had enough and Liam weaving across the track, nearly causing contact between the two of them already. Meanwhile, Rapid, Lewis and Afonso have already lined up on the grid, and these guys haven't even gone through the penultimate corner just yet. This race will get going at some point. A lot of weaving there from Giotto on the run to the grid, and he's pointed his car very to the right, and the game didn't like it. Has reset him. Are we going to get a back view of the grid here? It's not exactly what you want, as the last car is in place of Pilot Stig. The lights are on. The telemetry has messed up, and we're going to have to watch the field from the rear. That is if the lights ever want to come on. Do we have a glitched lobby? That would be very painful. The lights are finally on. We do not. We can get going. Rapid on the worst of the two tyres for a start. It's lights out, away we go. We can't quite see what's going on. Now we can, and it's Lewis who couldn't quite get alongside Rapid with a great start. Afonso pulling out to the outside. We're potentially going 3 wide in turn 1. Lewis sent it up the inside. He was given space by Rapid, who goes around the outside looking for the better exit. Afonso looking keenly between the two as Lewis commits the outside. Now turns the inside line. They're still side by side, neither driver wanting to give this up. As over the hill they come, it's Lewis who emerges in the lead. On the soft tyre, he needed to get past Rapid. He has that advantage, he's done it. Afonso now keenly looking as Omar survives the start. He stays in P4. Tim Rolfes, Dylan, Quentin, Harry, Giotto blazed him the top 10. No spinners at the start though. Charlie has dropped to the back of the grid, so some issue has happened for one of the Mercedes drivers there as Giotto goes very wide, we see there, and he's being attacked now by the reserve of Blaze Tim, who gets up into P9, taking advantage of Giotto running wide as we see the other Haas of hazard time also off the track. Warnings can be a big factor at a track like Hungary. It's easy to run off the track here. Very technical circuit, very narrow, and some quick corners added in. It always lends to chaos as Afonso lining up a move on the Haas, can't quite go for it just yet. The Haas himself eyeing up that lead. He hasn't quite dropped too far back despite the soft tyre advantage. Afonso makes a switch to the inside. He's given space. Is it enough space? It is just enough. It's Ferrari width given by the Ferrari customer car of the Haas. Afonso would be bold to make an overtake here, and of course he can't. We've seen a spinner at the back. It's Quinton dropping back. I believe both McLarens maybe had an issue there, as they both dropped now to 17th and 19th. We are a car down actually. It's not 20 on the grid, so I'm not sure who's missed out. But it is Lewis beginning to break a gap. DRS will be enabled on the next lap as Rapid runs wide. That's going to cost them more time. DRS nearly broken now from Lewis to Rapid. DRS is broken from 3rd to 4th between Afonso and Omar. And battling at the midfield, I believe. It's tight between the cars, trying to make their way up into the points as we go back to the front. Rapid now under pressure by Afonso. DRS will be enabled this lap, but he won't get on this straight just yet. The detection zone was too early as Afonso did go to the inside, but he's pinned too much, can't get a good exit. Rapid will survive for now. Tim Rolfes just behind it, eyeing up Omar, who takes a very different line to his two behind him. Dylan's drops, hasn't dropped to P6, but is looking at a move on the two ahead of him. Rapid now 1.5 behind Lewis at the front. Cars going for that chicane looks so good. As into the pits comes Giotto. He's had an issue, he's gone to the softs, maybe change front wing, or it's an early strategy, bold strategy call. I doubt that though, as he's gone to the softs. Maybe caught up in the incident with one of the McLarens who spun on lap 2. Rapid himself now has broken DRS to Afonso. Although Afonso just about back inside it, I think he will get DRS this time, and Afonso needs to get that. He really, if he wants to eye up an easier win, needs to clear Rapid quite soon to not allow Lewis to run away, which he is doing so far. 2 seconds in front now, the Aston Martin driver, who's got a pole position to his name so far this season and a podium in Spain. Again, Afonso this lap, gonna have to stay behind. Tim Rolfes staying behind Omar, but for how much longer? The Williams driver running high in the points. Looking for his first point so far this season, does keep on the track there. That is another easy place to pick up the warnings as Tim's rear gets happy and almost wants to come to the front of the car. Dirty Air will now kill him throughout this whole part of the track, but just to make up for that, he will get the DRS and a healthy slipstream to try and get by Omar on this next lap, and Omar might be under a bit of pressure from not only Tim but Dylan, because, well, if Tim gets past, there's going to be a battle, and that's only going to let Dylan get that bit closer. Harry behind on the mediums is also holding up a Vesta, who's come right through the field from the back. He's up in P8. Bino, the other driver starting at the back, is up to P11. So Vesta's only taken 5 laps to get up to P7. He's getting by Harry, as we also saw in the background, Tim getting past Omar up to P4. Tim, he can be a challenger in this. He has pace, just not the consistency. Maybe you could say he deserved a win at Qatar. Didn't fall his way in the end due to safety cars. But he has the pace, as he proved that day, and he can now get after the leaders. Omar beginning to be a bit of a block to the cars behind, although he's kept with Tim well this lap so far, but Dylan closer to Omar than Omar is to Tim. Dylan himself here maybe was eyeing up a bit of a move there. Would have been bowled into the chicane. Back up the front, it's now 3 seconds the gap between first and second, but of course there is a tyre advantage. Tim Rolfes, as I was bigging him up, gets a 3-second penalty. That's going to cost him the whole way through this race. Of course, though, other drivers... He's now at the mercy of other drivers also picking up penalties, which is never a position you want to be in any league race. Afonso still within DRS range of Rapid, but he can't close within enough to really get a move going. Which is why Lewis's move on lap 1 on Rapid was such an important move, because it not only let him take the lead, but it's allowed him to run away with it. Because the moment Afonso gets past Rapid, you have to say he would build up a gap, as Blaze Tim has crashed on the straight. He's lost his front wing and the virtual safety car is out. Not sure what's happened there. I have to say there would have to be contact of some sort on the straight for him to hit the wall. But the Ferrari driver who was in the points, now without a front wing. Bino's also got a time penalty for contact with Liam under the VSC, so the reserves not enjoying this part of the race. And of course Blaze Tim now is going to want that VSC to stay out as long as possible, but I mean, he's lost his front wing before even turn 1. He's got a long way to go around to get to the pits. It's going to be a very painful lap, even if it's under VSC for him. He's going to lose time even under it, you'd maybe suspect, as Charlie's dived into the pits, used the VSC to his advantage, gone onto the mediums. He is a long way back, though, for any strategy to benefit him. I'm not sure if that's his second time in the pits, because he is a long way back now from the leaders. Yeah, he has indeed stopped already, as we see the big losers and gainers. Avesta up 9, Bino up 8, Zauber up 5. Zauber, even though only P12 on for his best finish so far, my commentator from the last round, or co-commentator I should say, as Dylan, as you saw there as I was talking, has got past Omar, caught napping under VSC. Hazard time gets past Blaze Tim, who dives into the pits. Obviously without that front wing, Felper joins him. Afonso, the VSC has benefited him because he is now closer. Tyre warm up for the both of them, weaving along the straight. And Afonso only more closing the gap, but the dirty air now starts to hit from this point on till about, I'd say till about the straight, to be honest. Tight chicane, never nice following a car through those types of corners. He's dropped back 2 tenths, but he's closer than he has been on any lap prior when the DRS has been enabled. And he can see Lewis getting further and further away in the distance, and well, his desperation will be picking up to try and get past his Haas any way possible, as Avesta now makes up another position on Omar. Omar losing them now, lap 8 down to P7. I mean, he's still in a good position, but he's got Harry on the slower of the two compounds now behind him, as Omar forces Avesta to defend. The position isn't going to be gained though for the Williams driver, and I mean, when are the softs going to start to fade out? I mean, for Omar's case, it already looks like they have done. Maybe he's pushed too hard, too early, trying to keep up with the leaders. But he's beginning to drop back, as we see Dylan now on the back of Tim Rolfesh, and Afonso on the back of Rapid. And I'm not quite sure what the pace differential is between the softs and the mediums, if it is about this much, or if Lewis has got outstanding race pace, or if Rapid maybe has put on more of a quality base setup, or maybe he's even gone for a wet based setup, which is why he maybe qualified on pole, but it's gonna struggle his way through the race potentially. Having said that, Afonso, who we know is fast, still cannot close to within less than 7 tenths. 8 tenths now the gap as he comes onto the straight. The DRS is going to benefit him, but benefit him to catch what? 3 tenths, 4 tenths at best as they come into the braking zone. He even outbrakes himself. It's allowing Lewis to run away even more out front, as speaking of Lewis, his teammate Harry now side by side with Omar into turn 2, almost forcing Omar off the track, and that's an easy way to get a position done. Contact, Omar not quite fully off the track, but I mean, when you're out there, there's nothing much you can do to defend the position. Omar now down to P8, Liam behind 2 seconds, so Omar now has a bit of respite. Try and settle himself now, go for that without losing position, and try and settle into your own pace now, as we watch Bino with the 5 second up into the points. He started at the back as well with a quali bound. That's Liam not off the track, just a bit of lag. And so far that is the closest battle on track. We watch Avesta, who's got past Dylan. So Dylan's made a mistake somewhere, because he's now dropped away from the battle between himself and Tim, and now has a car between them. Avesta up from, I'm not quite sure where he exactly started, as we see a spin for Giotto up before the chicane. As Liam, we saw him lag, he's now out of the race. Avesta's gone up from P16 to P5, and we're not even Not even a third of the way through the race yet. Quali man or not, he is always up in contention for a race win, and if he does come through to win this race, what a drive we have seen. However, even if he does get past Tim Rolfesh, who has a penalty, he's got a 3-second gap in front of that, to the next car, Afonso, who has dropped out of DRS range of Rapid. The tyre wear probably becoming a bit of a factor now on those soft tyres. Another telling factor is if we'll begin to see other medium runners catching the softs. Bino has closed to Omar. Although Omar has not dropped back from Harry at all, so it's hard to tell whether or not the softs have still got life in them. But in Afonso's case, maybe sticking behind a car for this entire time has done his tyres no good at all, and that is only backed up by the fact he dives into this pit lane. He's the first of our cars within the pack, I'd say, to go into the pits, and we are seeing mediums being strapped on. The mediums look a good race tyre. No one opting for those hards around Hungary. And I believe he'll drop to P11 behind Zauber. So who are battling to do? Battling ahead between Avesta and Tim Rolfesh. Avesta did close the gap to Tim Rolfesh and gets the move done with a lap car between them. Giotto getting a good view, I believe that's Giotto getting a good view of that battle. And, well, Avesta now into a podium position. Not a net podium position because Afonso has pit, of course. But, I mean, we can now really see if he can close that gap to Rapid, who's himself closing the gap to Lewis. It's less than 3 seconds now, so the softs, I do believe, are coming towards their end of their life. Hard to tell with some drivers, but with others, like Afonso, it was a telling. It was telling, and I think that little moment there from Avesta is another. Giotto, the lap car, trying to unlap himself. Luckily he is ghosted, so he can do that safely. Any drivers into the pits? We do see Tim Rolfesh reacting to Afonso, maybe reacting to the fact that he's lost the position now. Into the pits he comes. We'd expect to see mediums on his car. As behind him, yeah, Omar is into the pits as well. Afonso has closed to Zauber, so he did come up behind Zauber, then had to do a whole lap behind him. There's not many places to overtake around Hungary, even with a huge pace advantage. Pace advantage from the DRS as well, as they both kind of slap each other on the straight, tyre to tyre. No contact, no consequences from the contact, other than the fact that Afonso gets past. Up to P8. Has a time into the pits as well. This is the pit window now for the softs, as Tim Rolfesh is the first to opt to the hards. Interesting strategy there, because if drivers are trusting mediums to the end, going to the hards, it seems a strange call. Maybe he has no faith in the mediums, or maybe it's a 2-stop for those going onto the mediums. 11 laps for those who've done mediums so far would get you to lap 23, which isn't enough. But you wouldn't say you'd expect the medium drivers to come in just yet, as the ghosted car of Limhuis is overtaken by Afonso. Bino on the back of Harry. Harry, who I'm not sure if he's having issues or not, but he hasn't closed on the softs entirely. He's got Dylan within sight, but if he looks in his mirrors, which he'll have to now, Bino is passing him. No longer in his mirrors, just ahead. Harry concedes the position. The reserve driver is up to P5. And well, every reserve appearance he's done so far, he's had to do a mega drive from the back of the grid. I mean, he's finished P3, P6, P7 so far. Harry having a moment on his tyres. He's not enjoying this stint of the race, I don't think, despite running in the points. He's not quite got the pace of the leaders, not quite the pace he'd like to have at all. As Rapid is closing that gap rapidly to Lewis, the leader. At what point will we see him dive into the pits? Will it be this lap? Aston Martin driver ignores that pit lane. It's been calling out for so many drivers so far this race, but Lewis ignores those calls, stays out. Avesta will follow him in suit. Dylan, 3.5 seconds behind him, stays out as well. They're extending their strategy to make sure they can get to the end of this race on those mediums, but Bino is closing in massively on those soft tyres on Dylan's car. To invite, yes, I can do. Try to do that as quick as possible. Just invite Aston again, for God's sake. Right, Bino now within a second of Dylan. Zauber within a second of Tim, but I believe that's because Tim has just passed him. Hard tyres against old mediums. Zauber still in the points, but has to pit. Zauber looking for his first points. Zauber looking for Red Bull's main driver's first points this season. Him and Sultan yet to score a point. Likewise with the two Williams drivers. One of those Williams drivers, TM Ducky, enters the pit lane, leaves the pit lane on a set of brand new mediums. Albeit a long way back from the field, as we now see Bino on the back of the Mercedes. Afonso on the back of Harry just behind this battle as well. Dylan hasn't pit and Bino almost giving him a push. Dylan going wide, and I can only assume that is because... No, he doesn't. It looks as if he was going towards the pits. I don't know if that was a late bail to not pit, or if that was a defensive line taken by the Mercedes driver. Either way, it's an easy pass for his old teammate and good mate, Bino Bentel. Up from the back to P4, still needs to pit. But once again, like I said with the Vesta, it's a great drive so far to be this high up, ahead of other drivers who haven't pit as well. Afonso did get past Harry with ease, already built up that second gap. And if we look towards the back here, we've got Charlie on the back of Felper, Quinton's teammate, who hasn't pit yet, has a time, did pit, went to the softs, and is flying past two cars as Charlie tries to make it through wide. He's stuck his nose in, he's now going to dive it to the inside, can't get it stopped, pushes hazard time off the track. This could be a bit of an incident if they don't both calm it down. Hazard time's going to send it back up the inside, and he does get that position. I think maybe rightfully so. He did seem a bit forced off the track by Charlie, who did a late dive to the inside. Maybe a bit frustrated with how his race has turned out so far. No safety car 15 laps in, no DNS. We've had a DNS from someone. If I try to work out who it is, it would be a Red Bull. Not quite so sure who that would be. Back at the front, Rapid has closed that gap to within DRS. Dylan speeds into the pit lane. It's the second race in a row we've seen a Mercedes speed into the pits, and it costs them time. Well, obviously, but it costs them huge time come the end of the race, especially if there's a late safety car. It leaves you so vulnerable and costing them points. Sorry, yeah, I will invite you now. Oh, we'll not invite Aston again this time. I'll just send you another one just in case. And in the background you can see Rapid as we were riding on board with him all the time, closing that gap to the leader. 15 laps on those softs. He's making sure he can make this a one stop. Lewis 2307 at the front. But for how much longer? Does now commit to the pit lane. In he goes. Rapid will take the lead of the race for the first time in VRP. He now leads a lap. Lap 16. Avesta following into the pit lane as well. Every soft starter now has done their pit stop, as we see Bino Bentel following as well. So his mediums lasted the same amount of time as Lewis's. It's a very interesting strategy from the Aston Martin driver there to stay out that long. He didn't lose the lead, but he lost a 3-second advantage to P2, and well, when he comes out the pits, he's 6 seconds behind Afonso. Afonso, of course, the first stopper of these front runners, but you know, It's a big margin. His teammate lets him through, does Harry, of letting Lewis through. I mean, will Afonso have to stop again is the question. Tim Rolfesh also getting past Harry now as well. And further back we see Omar, who has pit 5 laps ago, with Avesta behind him, who has now just pit. On the same compound, Bino picking up another penalty. He would have served his 5 seconds in the pit stop, but immediately transfers that for a 3 second from track limits. Liam, maybe if you appear online, maybe that could help. I'm not sure. Avesta pressuring the back of Omar. Both take different lines. Omar wanted the better exit, but no matter what line he takes for that better exit, Avesta has that tyre advantage, the traction advantage, and now the position advantage as Dylan takes the fastest lap. Sped into the pit lane to get those tyres. He couldn't wait to put them on. He's now speeding on the track. Fastest lap for the Mercedes driver. His teammate getting past Liam, who has pit. He's now on the fringes of the points, 7 seconds behind Bino, who has the 3 second penalty. Charlie an early stopper though, and well, we're unsure as of yet if it's going to have to be a 2-stopper. I think for Charlie, 12 laps is definitely going to have to be, because he's almost getting up to the lap count that Bino got on a set of mediums. Although Rapid's still going strong on them. Afonso all the time closing the gap, but of course he's going to. He's got a 10 lap tyre advantage over the Haas. And Lewis, who has just a 6 lap tyre advantage. Well, we saw he was 6.5 seconds back earlier. He's now only less than 4. Overcuts are powerful because of the huge advantage you get on that fresh set of tyres when you put them on. We saw that in real life with Max Verstappen when he did this in real life. Oh, sorry, we saw that with Lewis Hamilton, who got past Max Verstappen, of course. As Avesta gets past Harry, who still hasn't pit. He's going long. Bino getting past Blaze Tim, who is back in the points despite losing his front wing. Doesn't look like Liam can get back into the lobby. It's unfortunate for him. Yeah. And unfortunate for Blaze Tim, who drops down to P10 and is likely to have to pit again. Looking for battles. There's not too many. We'll show Zauber, Quinton and Team Ducky because they're all very close to each other. So is Felper just there. This is a nice little battle going on here for the lower reaches. Still no DNFs, which is great to see, as the cameras don't quite want to follow it completely. Felper and Quinton, the two McLarens on the mediums, haven't pitted. They're going long, and it hasn't really benefited either of them as Ducky sends it to the inside of Zauber. These two have pit. These two on different compounds as well, as Rapid now finally pits at the front of the field. He puts on a set of softs. Zauber trying to use his tyre, this different compound to his advantage. He shoves Quinton through the corner, and that slows the both of them down. Ducky with a send to the inside, gets both positions. Brilliant from the Williams driver as Quinton kind of gets his own back on Zauber, forces him off onto the grass. Great little battle from the two of them. Rapid comes out with Avesta right behind him. So tight between the two of them. Lewis now closing that gap to the front. Afonso surely, if he can't hold on, which I think he's going to really struggle to do for the rest of this race, he's going to have to pit again. And from then, it's going to be really interesting to see if he can close that whole pit stop time loss down to Lewis on a fresh set of tyres. He can brake so much later into turn 12. The action now heating up. It took... the first stint was a bit of a quiet one, but it's taken a round of pit stops to get this race going. Lewis now all over the back of Afonso. He's got the DRS. There is nothing the Ferrari driver can do. Championship leader is now no longer the race leader. Or is he? He sends it to the inside. The number 5 in the Ferrari. We've seen success before with that car. but he's not successful in this battle as Lewis is now back as your race leader with a fresh set of tyres. Afonso now immediately has to think about whether pitting is going to benefit him. Rapid gets past Tim, who's on the hard tyres. He's now got a vest to look in his mirrors because those hard tyres are going to be slow, especially to a set of fresh medium tyres. Afonso now, if he can keep within DRS of Lewis, that would be impressive. I say that would be impressive because, well, look, he's almost dropped out and he has now done so. Blaze Tim coming out the pits, P15. Points finish is not over for the driver who caused the one and only VSC, or any safety car of any sort. And I think that's an annoyance to a lot of the drivers at the back, to be honest. Giotto, who pit early after, well, receiving front wing damage, hasn't really been able to get back into this race because of that. But that's down to some of the good driving we've seen so far. Good driving from Avesta, gets past Tim Rolfes before the DRS. Yeah. Does mean Tim Rolfes gets an opportunity to come back at him. And that's a late switch from Tim Rolfes, trying to get to the outside. And it's caused a tank slapper and he's off the track. He'd be lucky to not lose another position here. And he does indeed lose that to Dylan. Well, I'm not sure if that was a late decision from Tim to switch to the outside or if that was a late move from Avesta. But either way, he's off the track, and off the track goes Afonso. And out of the lobby as well. But it goes from bad to worse from the championship leader. Off the track, out the lobby. And he's not only lost P2, he's lost P3, he now sits in P4 and he'll lose more from being an AI. Drama, lap 22. Drama. Rapid closing on Lewis. With those softs, but how, well, he's got to take those softs a long way from here. You almost don't know where to look. Tim Rolfes and Afonso off on the same lap. Zauber now gets a penalty. And Lewis is the one with the 5.5 second lead at the front. Rapid behind with the same advantage to Avesta. And Dylan now will get past Afonso if he can't get back into this lobby quickly. Not too much going on at this very moment. Anything can happen any second, but if I can get an invite to Afonso, that would probably be helpful. Dylan will now move himself up to P4, past that ghosted Ferrari. And well, it's a bit of a shame. We're not going to get to see whether or not Afonso pitting a second time will prove good enough to challenge for the win here. I think one man who's going to be very happy about this is the man in the pit lane. Onto softs, Charlie MGO6. His title fight has kind of become undone for a bit of inconsistency, but he'll be happy to see this. Another man happy to see this will be Harry. He's had a bit of an off race today, still in the points, keeping up his point streak alive, but he keeps the title hope alive. Someone in the chat as well will be very happy to see this. Gustav, P3 in the championship, not racing today, but with Afonso maybe not getting as many points as you first would have thought. Can benefit these drivers. Dylan, who was the latest to pass him, benefits as well. Tim Rolfes is the next to get past the ghosted car. Through he goes, and through into the pit lane comes Omar. So are we going to see a set of softs on the Williams here? We can't quite see because the view is so far out. But those are indeed soft red striped tyres on Omar's car. He goes aggressive to try and build up more and more points to his tally. Afonso was passed by Tim Rolfes, and he will now be passed by his AlphaTauri, well, fill-in teammate of Bino Bentel, up from the back of the grid. He'll go up to P6, and well, the round of pit stops are over, and Avesta, who went from P16, now P3. Driver of the day performance here so far from the Alfa Romeo driver. Rapid has closed 7/10 since the last time we looked, 3 laps ago. Soft's not quite giving the the kind of monumental advantage you'd have thought, but 10 laps to go. He's got time to close that gap even further, but how much life do those tyres going to have left in them? 5 laps already done. We saw in the first stint another 5 laps and they'll start to go off, so we'll see what happens there as we're seeing battling between the two AlphaTauris, both on hard tyres. Same strategy for the both of them, except one's on much fresher tyres. Bino Bentel gets past his teammate, both on a penalty. Bino will now attack his former teammate Dylan, who's got 5 seconds for speeding into the pit lane. Afonso's AI now comes into the pits for softs. I think that's what Afonso would have done anyway, but you know, he's a lot more positions down than he would have been without the lag out. These two still battling. Ducky sends it to the inside, almost on the grass. On Zauber, got a very slow exit. DRS helping him though to pull out that advantage. P11 for the Williams driver. Both these drivers looking to score points for the first time this season. If they can look ahead, there's a ghosted car coming their way, so they'll get a chance. So will Charlie, who's on the softs and is only going to close in even more. Not many battles going on anywhere else, so we'll stick on board with this one. Quinton Gaming, by the way, P17, still hasn't pit on those medians. 24 laps. 24 laps. I'm not sure if you maybe pit at the very start. We look for stops. He did not. He has not stopped yet. It's a bold strat, to say the least, from him. He's got Pilot Stig on the back of him, who has pit 9 laps ago on the same compound. 9 laps, of course, a huge difference. Charlie braking much later than Zauber can. That's because he's not only got 2 steps off the tyres, but much fresher. And that tells as he goes around the outside of the Red Bull. I keep pressing the wrong button. But through he goes with a lack of ERS, but with a helping of DRS. Looks for another outside manoeuvre round Ducky, and as they appear round the corner, Charlie's ahead of the both of them. P11. Blaze Tim will get past his ghosted teammate. Afonso still hasn't joined. It's such a shame to see. Rapid now 4 seconds behind. He's closed another 3/10 or so. Blaze Tim gets past his Ferrari body as we see a spin, but I believe that's for Giotto, who is a lap down and has been a lap down for the majority of this race. Early troubles for him and no safety car to really allow him back into this one. Now both the drivers on softs, but we've seen Harry struggle for pace all day today. Omar down into turn 1 where we've seen the majority of our overtakes today get in past the Aston Martin, and well, if he finishes ahead of him, I think he'll think that's well deserved, given he'll probably feel a bit aggrieved about Harry's early overtake on him in that early stint. It seems so long ago now, as we're on to lap 27. Omar up to P7, Harry P8, and Charlie now can see a ghosted car ahead of him for some points. Zauber and Ducky continue their battle. There's dirt on those tyres, and I do believe I just saw Ducky ghosted, so there's yet more drama and hard racing between the two of them. Ghosted car Afonso being passed by Charlie. Afonso out of the points. Championship leader, unless he can rejoin and get his car back going again, he will not score points. He also is AI pit for softs, but well, we saw him pit for softs, but 12 lap old softs. Even if he can get himself back into the lobby, I think he'll struggle to score points from this point. Charlie can now chase after Blaze Tim, the reserve, in the Ferrari. As Rapid, we look at him again, he's closed another 4/10 to Lewis, so that gap all the time coming down. Bino's gap to Dylan all the time coming down. Felper gets past the ghosted car, and shall we now watch this battle, which seems to guarantee contact. You can see the scrapes on Ducky's car, as there's a spin for Quentin. On those kind of tyres, you can't really be too surprised. Ducky and Zauber. This battle has been going for a while now. They've gapped the two McLarens they were battling with, mainly because one of them has pit and is about to come back up to them. Giotto now has crashed and caused our first safety car and our first retirement just before turn 3, and well, who does this benefit? It benefits Rapid, who can immediately dive into the pits. Lewis ignored the option. I'm not sure he had the option. Rapid did. Into the pits he goes. Avesta follows in. The safety car is going to pick up Lewis as well. Well, we saw this happen in Qatar. The safety car has picked up Lewis. No, it has. Has it? It has. And he almost tried to overtake the safety car. We've seen the consequences of that a few times for leaders this season. Kinkiski in China and Afonso in Spain. And so far, everyone behind Lewis has dived into the pits. 4 soft tyres. Omar, who had already pit, he'll have 5 lap older tyres, but he'll gain 4 positions. Up to P4 he goes. Harry does use the option to come in. Blaze Tim will follow as well. Charlie won't do the same as Omar and does come into the pits. And to be fair to Charlie, I'm not sure how many positions he would have gained if he had stayed out. So their fresher tyres are worth it. Afonso's AI is going to not pit and maybe cause a bit of chaos on the restart. So look out for that as he gets ahead of Harry as well, up to P8. And staying out as well is the Hass of Hazard time on mediums. And he puts himself into the points. He's got a lot of defending to do though. And as ever in League Racing, there's a safety car. We thought we'd go a whole race without one. We thought we'd go a whole race without a DNF. But we've got one. As Lewis, that's a big call. He now pits. The safety car caught him. He did a lap. And he gives up track position to get the tyres. I think he almost had no choice. Tyre advantage would have been almost indefensible. He's going to lose 3, maybe 4 positions here. If he can get a quick pit stop, which he does. Omar has pit again. Oh, sorry, he hasn't pit again. He has now pit. So he's changed his mind on this strategy. And I mean, it's not going to cost him too much. He'll get the fresh tyres and he'll go back down to where he was. So no loss there for Omar. Although he's gone to mediums. Medium's still a quick tyre, so don't think he'll lose too much with that strategy. Of course, we'll end up seeing for real in a few laps time when the safety car comes in. Quentin has finally pit. He's on to softs, but he is a lap down. He is a lap down. So that would mean little for him. I don't know if he's going to try and lap himself, but he'd do well. He'd do well to make that work. And Charlie has sped under safety car, I believe. He's got a 5-second now. And well, Dylan's managed to serve his 5-second because he's now just pit under safety car. But the other Mercedes driver, yet again, getting a 5-second. And with a late safety car, that's just going to cost him. I think he's going to have to pit. He won't lose the most amount of positions by pitting, but if he stays out, he's going to lose a lot from a 5-second. We'll watch to see what he does. Coming around past the final corner, and he refuses to pit, so he's going to keep going with the 5-second or not. Maybe he's hoping to get it removed at the end of the race. Takes the risk, has a time, took the risk, decides against it, comes into the pits. And Quentin, now trying to unlap himself, has had contact with Harry and given himself a 5-second. I believe Quentin's race may be over from here. Pilot Stig, another lap down car, and an AI car. His race seems to be over as well, you'd have to say. So, the whole field on softs, bar Omar, by Liam, who is a AI, wasn't able to get back into the lobby. Pilot Stig, who's a lap down, and an AI. Afonso, who's an AI, is on 16 lap old softs. Other than that, level playing field. Everyone else has pit onto the softs. And well, we know what late safety cars cause. It's going to be in this lap as Felper makes his way to the back of this pack. It may not be in this lap, it'll be a late call anyway, but either way, buckle in, because late safety cars always cause a drama as it comes in and Rapid watches it fly off into the distance. He weaves his tyres to try and get some heat in to them and maybe a bit of distraction tactics. A distraction tactic is the fact that between P1 and P2 there is an AI car. When does Rapid decide to go? He's got to wait for it to get to the pit lane. Burn Mylander has now reached it. He can go when he likes. And he has now gone, and Avesta is a long way back. Already over a second. The lapped car hasn't helped. But the fact that he's managed to catch him napping is huge. Dylan alongside Bino already. Omar gets a penalty for overtaking a lapped car under safety car. That's going to cost him massively. And Avesta as well with a penalty. He's overtaking Pilot Stig too early. Penalties being thrown about everywhere now as Dylan did get past Bino. Further back, we're seeing Ducky get past Afonso's AI car. Where do we look? There's action everywhere, as we expected. Avesta has closed back to a second to Rapid. There will be DRS at some point at the end of this race. He's closing that gap even more. If Avesta can get to the back of Rapid, could he win this race on track? From the back of the grid, from P16 to P1, what a drive that would be. Rapid looking to go from P1 to P1 on his debut appearance as a reserve. Further back, Charlie's made his way up into the top 10. Ducky just behind. Charlie, of course, has that penalty though, so that will cost him by the end of the race. Zauber now getting past Ducky, and he loses 2 positions. Hazard Time gets past him as well. And Felper as well. Avesta fastest lap as he chases down Rapid. And Bino onto the back of Dylan as well. A lot of these drivers waiting for DRS to be enabled because, well, hard to overtake here, hard to follow here. And when you don't have a significant pace advantage, it's always going to be hard to overtake here. And as I say, a lot of drivers pit onto the same tyres with the same tyre age, so overtaking was always going to be difficult, late safety car or not. The field already massively split. The main battle, the one we want to watch, Avesta and Rapid. Whether Avesta gets past Rapid and if it will count for him to actually win the race, seeing as he has a penalty or not, will be down to the stewards. But either way, he's going to go for it, because why wouldn't he? If he can win it on track, he's got every chance of winning it in the stewards room at the end of the race. And Lewis is going to go with him. Lewis, who did not pit at the first opportunity, lost the positions. And he's going to have to make them up again. And he's determined to do it, because he's going with Avesta, he's going with Rapid. And if he can build himself an opportunity to make it, he's going to make the overtake when he can. Dylan and Bino still racing each other. Bino's back through. Great move into turn 2. Set it up into turn 1. Got it done in turn 2. And his teammate Tim Rolfesh now behind the Mercedes driver. Avesta just over 4 tenths back, but goes off the track to lose some time. Lose some time to the car ahead. Lose some time to the car behind. About to go on to the final lap. Rapid just mainly now has to defend to turn 1. If he can do that, he's got the position. But Avesta will get DRS, and that's the nail in the coffin for the Alfa Romeo driver. 3-second time penalty. He's gonna do well to get this race won from now. He'll get DRS. Rapid will defend no matter. Weaving down the straight. Avesta gave a little look to the inside. He brakes late. Not much he can do. He's running out of ERS. Rapid will be using his as well to escape away. Liam's AI hasn't even stuck to the rules, so that's very interesting, as Felper crashes out as well on the exit there. I'm not sure if that was assisted by contact or just a spin of the tyres and into the wall, but Felper's out of the race as well. We're just about less than 10 laps to go. We've seen 4 retirements, well, 3 retirements and a DSQ. But for Rapid, comes up to the final few corners. The sun beating down on the track, and for Rapid, beating the other drivers to the line. He takes his first win in his debut performance. The reserve wins the Hungarian Grand Prix. Lewis takes P2, so a good performance from him. Dylan in P3. I saw someone reversing across the line. Bino down to P4. Avesta in P5 as Lewis leaves the session early, so the results got a bit skewed at the end there. But Rapid is your race winner from pole position to race win. What a drive. What a drive as well from Avesta and Bino to come from the back of the grid to points. And there you have it, the results. Rapid is your winner. Well, provisional results, because, you know, drivers may want penalties removed. There was quite a few of them. Rapid wins from Dylan. Lewis was second, Dylan was third. Bino fourth. Avesta dropped to fifth with the penalty. Blaze Tim, P6. He made his recovery after the front wing loss. Harry gets decent P7. Charlie, despite the penalty, will finish P8 for the second race running, so more points for the Mercedes driver, though his teammate escapes away from him in the standings. Good day for Harry in the championship. He closes that gap to first place. Omar gets his first points of the season. Hazard is once again back in the top 10. Another 10th place finish for the Haas driver gets him yet another point. Zawel, for his best finish, P12, means he moves above his teammate Sultan in the championship as well. Well, great race to watch. Maybe a lack of overtakes, but that's what you expect from a race around Hungary. Either way, a good race, and a bit of extra drama added to it with a late safety car. All 19 drivers keeping out of the wall for the majority. Thank you for the compliment, Gustav. I've tried my best and my voice is slowly dying. I need a drink. So, thank you for watching. Join us next week where I hope we'll have 2 commentators back in this booth. We're at Monza. I won't be commentating, but someone else will be. See you then.